You know that moment when you're standing in the grocery store aisle, staring at your shopping list, and suddenly you can't remember why you wrote almonds down? Or when you walk into a room full of purpose, only to stop and think, now what did I come in here for? If this sounds familiar, take comfort. You're absolutely not alone. In fact, these little memory hiccups happen to everyone at every age. But here's what's exciting. Science shows we have far more control over our brain health after 60 than we ever realized. Today, I want to share with you 5 surprisingly simple habits that can help keep your memory sharp and your mind clear. These aren't complicated brain training exercises or expensive supplements. They're practical, research-backed strategies that fit naturally into your daily routine. In fact, you might already be doing some of them without realizing their brain-boosting benefits. Let's start with the first 2 that can make an immediate difference. The first habit is what I call moving with purpose. Now, you probably heard that exercise is good for your brain, but here's what most people miss. It's not just about getting your heart rate up. The real magic happens when you combine physical movement with mental engagement. My neighbor Evelyn, who's 72, discovered this when she started paying close attention to her surroundings during her morning walks, really noticing the colors of flowers, counting how many red cars pass by, or trying to spot something new each day. After just a few weeks of this practice, she found herself remembering phone numbers more easily and misplacing her keys less often. Here's why this works so well. When we move our bodies while fully engaging our minds, we're giving our brains a double workout. The increased blood flow from physical activity delivers more oxygen and nutrients to brain cells, while the focused attention strengthens neural connections. Try this tomorrow. During your normal walk, whether it's around a block or just a mailbox, pick one thing to focus on. Maybe the sounds around you, the feeling of your feet hitting the ground, or looking for objects of a certain color. This simple shift from passive walking to active noticing can make a remarkable difference in your cognitive sharpness. Now, let's talk about the second habit, the afternoon brain boost. And no, I'm not talking about another cup of coffee. This is about creating a daily moment of mental refreshment that your brain will come to crave. My friend Richard, who's 68, developed a wonderful ritual. Every afternoon around 3 p.m., he makes himself a cup of green tea and spends 15 minutes doing something just slightly challenging. Some days it's a crossword puzzle. Other days it's try to recall all his elementary school teachers' names, or even just organizing his junk drawer in a new way. The key here is a combination of green tea's natural compounds, especially L-theanine, with gentle mental stimulation during that common afternoon slump when many of us feel foggy. The L-theanine in green tea works with its modest caffeine content to enhance focus and memory without the jitters of coffee. But here's what makes this truly powerful. It's not just about drinking the tea. It's about creating that daily moment where you're both nourishing and challenging your brain in a pleasant, low-pressure way. What's beautiful about these first 2 habits is how they work together throughout the day. The purposeful movement in the morning gets your brain energized and alert, while the afternoon brain boost gives it just the right amount of stimulation when energy typically dips. And neither requires any special equipment or dramatic lifestyle changes, just small, intentional tweaks to what you're probably already doing. Before we move on to our next set of habits, I want to address something important. Some of you might be thinking, but I don't drink tea, or what if I can't walk much? That's completely okay. The principles behind these habits matter more than the specific activities. If green tea isn't your thing, try another brain-healthy drink like hibiscus tea or hot lemon water. If walking is difficult, seated exercises with mental engagement, like chair yoga while naming all the state capitals, work just as well. The goal is finding what works for your body and your lifestyle. This idea of personalization leads us perfectly into our next habits, including one surprising activity that's been shown to boost memory as effectively as some commercial brain games, and a simple way to turn your meals into powerful brain medicine. But we'll get to those in just a moment. Now that we've covered purposeful movement and the afternoon brain boost, let's dive into a habit that might surprise you: embracing awkward learning. That's right, I said awkward. My 73-year-old friend Carol discovered the power of this when she signed up for a beginner's pottery class last year. At first, she felt completely out of place. Her hands wouldn't cooperate with the clay, and the spinning wheel made her dizzy. But something remarkable happened after a few weeks of struggling through those uncomfortable sessions. She noticed her memory improving in ways her daily crossword puzzles never achieved, and she found herself thinking more creatively in her everyday life. Here's why awkward learning works so well for brain health. When we attempt skills that feel unnatural and challenging, we force our brains to create entirely new neural pathways. It's like hacking through dense jungle to create a new trail, rather than always walking the same well-worn path. The key is that the activity should feel just slightly beyond your current abilities. Not so difficult that it's frustrating, but not so easy that you can do it without thinking. You don't need to take up pottery, though. Any new skill that pushes you gently outside your comfort zone will do. Try learning to write with your non-dominant hand. Attempt some basic phrases in new language, or take up an instrument you've never played before. Even simple activities like brushing your teeth with your opposite hand can provide this benefit. The magic happens in those moments of slight struggle, when you're concentrating hard, making mistakes, and gradually improving. That's when your brain is building new connections and strengthening existing ones. My neighbor Frank, who's 76, started practicing this by learning to juggle 3 tennis balls in his garage. It took weeks before he could manage more than a few tosses without dropping them, but he swears it's done more for his mental clarity than anything else he's tried. Now, let's talk about the 4th habit, eating the rainbow. And no, I don't mean those colorful candies. This is about consciously incorporating deeply colored fruits and vegetables into every meal. My friend Martha, who's 79, started implementing this by making sure her plate always included at least 3 different vibrant colors at each meal. Within a month, her daughter noticed she was remembering family birthdays without reminders and keeping track of conversations much better. Here's why this rainbow approach works so powerfully for brain health. Those rich colors in plant foods come from potent antioxidants and flavonoids that protect brain cells from damage and reduce inflammation. Different colors provide different protective compounds, so variety is key. The most brain-nourishing colors to include are deep blues and purples, like blueberries, blackberries, and eggplant. These contain anthocyanins that may delay brain aging. Dark leafy greens, such as spinach, kale, and Swiss chard, packed with vitamin K and lutein for cognitive protection. Bright reds and oranges, including tomatoes, bell peppers, and sweet potatoes, loaded with lycopene and beta-carotene. But here's the beautiful part. You don't need to overhaul your entire diet overnight. Start by adding just 1 extra colorful food to each meal. Sprinkle some berries on your morning oatmeal. Add a handful of baby spinach to your sandwich at lunch, or roast some colorful vegetables with dinner. Small, consistent additions make a big difference over time. What's fascinating is how these middle 2 habits complement each other. Awkward learning stimulates your brain to create new connections, while rainbow eating provides essential nutrients needed to build and maintain those connections. It's like giving your brain both the construction plans and the high-quality building materials it needs to stay strong. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but I've never been adventurous with food, or learning new things at my age seems daunting. Here's what the research shows us. It's never too late to start. Studies on neuroplasticity, that's the brain's ability to change and adapt, prove that older brains can and do form new connections when given the right stimulation and nourishment. The key is starting small and being patient with yourself. My friend Edna, who swore she couldn't learn new things at 75, began by simply trying 1 new vegetable each week and practicing writing left-handed while watching TV. Within months, she found herself more mentally alert and even decided to take a painting class, something she'd been too intimidated to try before. That's the beautiful ripple effect these habits can create. Before we move to our final habit, which might be the most enjoyable of all, I want to emphasize that progress matters more than perfection. When my neighbor George started incorporating these habits, he didn't try to do everything at once. He began with adding colorful foods to his meals because that felt manageable, then gradually introduced awkward learning activities once he'd adjusted to the dietary changes. Last I heard, he was learning to play the harmonica and could name all the fruits and vegetables in the produce section by color. This idea of gradual, sustainable change leads us perfectly into our final strategy, one that combines social connection, mental stimulation, and pure enjoyment in a way that research shows can significantly protect against memory loss. Let's talk about the fifth and final habit, one that might surprise you with how much joy it brings while simultaneously strengthening your brain. It's what I call storytime socializing. Now, before you think this sounds childish, let me tell you about my 81-year-old friend Mildred, who started a weekly memory-sharing group at her senior center. Each week, she and her friends take turns telling stories from their lives, but with a twist. They add sensory details, describe emotions, and sometimes even act out parts. What started as simple reminiscing became powerful brain exercise, and within months, several members reported noticeable improvements in their everyday memory. Here's why this works so remarkably well. When we recall and share personal stories with rich detail, we're activating multiple areas of our brain simultaneously. We're exercising memory retrieval, language centers, emotional processing, and even creative visualization. The social aspect adds another layer of benefit: laughter, connection, and that wonderful feeling of being truly heard. Research from Johns Hopkins shows that regular social engagement combined with storytelling can improve memory retention in older adults by up to 40%. But you don't need a formal group to enjoy these benefits. Try the simple version at home. When chatting with family or friends, make a conscious effort to share one detailed memory each day. Describe what you wore that day, what the air smelled like, how you felt. My neighbor Sam does this during nightly phone calls with his granddaughter. They take turns sharing story of the day with as much detail as possible. Not only has it strengthened their bond, but Sam's recall of recent events has improved dramatically. Now, let's tie all 5 habits together into a complete brain-healthy lifestyle. 1. Morning movement with purpose. Start your day with physical activity while engaging your mind, like counting steps or noticing colors. 2. Afternoon brain boost. Pair green tea with gentle mental challenges during the midday slump. 3. Awkward learning. Regularly practice skills that feel just beyond your comfort zone. 4. Eating the rainbow. Incorporate colorful antioxidant-rich foods at every meal. And 5. Storytime socializing. Share detailed memories and stories regularly with others. What's beautiful about this approach is how the habits naturally support each other throughout your day and week. The morning movement prepares your brain for optimal function. The afternoon boost maintains your mental clarity. Awkward learning builds new neural pathways. Rainbow eating provides essential nutrients for those pathways. And storytime socializing helps cement memories while reducing stress. I want to share one last inspiring example. My friend Arthur, who at 78 was starting to worry about his memory. He began implementing these habits gradually over 6 months. First came the colorful eating. He started with adding berries to breakfast, then short mindful walks, then weekly chess games with his grandson. His chosen awkward learning. The changes were so subtle his family barely noticed until his 80th birthday party, when he recalled all 35 guest names without hesitation and told vivid stories about each person. His secret? He'd unknowingly created a complete, brain-healthy lifestyle. Before we wrap up, let me address a common concern. What if I've already noticed memory issues? The wonderful news is that research shows our brains retain remarkable plasticity throughout life. A study published in Neurology found that even seniors with mild cognitive impairment showed improvement when adopting habits like these. The key is consistency over intensity. Small, daily actions create compounding benefits over time. Here's my challenge for you this week. Choose just one of these 5 habits to focus on. Maybe it's adding more color to your plate or calling a friend to share a detailed childhood memory. Notice how it makes you feel. You might be surprised at how quickly small changes can lead to noticeable differences in your mental clarity. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these habits resonates most with you? What's one small change you'll try this week? Do you already practice any brain-healthy habits we haven't mentioned? Your experiences could help inspire others in our community. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button. It helps others discover this important information. And subscribe for more practical tips on thriving after 60. Remember what the great neuroscientist Dr. Michael Merzenich says: your brain is constantly evolving based on how you use it. Every colorful meal, every awkward new skill attempted, every story shared, they're all love letters to your brain, helping it stay sharp and vibrant for years to come. Here's to your health, your memories, and the wonderful wisdom you continue to share with the world. Now go give your amazing brain something delicious to work with.